as a forthcoming discussion and something that I am currently writing a paper about, is I'm creating a. I guess I'm discussing in this new paper a refutation of utilitarian ethics, and it has to do with epistemological ideas. It has to do with arguing some forms of. It has to do with arguing Schopenhauer's and Kantian idealism. The world is idealism and transcendental idealism of Kant. But what I want to do here mostly is I just want to go over Mill. John Stuart Mill is one of two people who are holding this utilitarianism ethics. I have a bunch of videos which talks about consequentialism and it talks about utilitarianism. I'll put an ethics playlist down there, and the consequentialism and utilitarianism videos, as well as other ethics videos, are in there. I don't want to put individual links because there's like maybe 9 of them. But I guess what I want to do here is I want to just discuss Mill's consequential utilitarianism. He has basically 3 things, and Bentham sort of had this too. Bentham was the other person who held this. The first one is that utilitarianism has 3 main things. The first thing is that action is judged solely in terms of its consequences. That I've talked about many times that I have a problem with. Action is just judged solely in terms of its consciousness. Now I have a problem with that because you're talking about 2 states of affairs, 2 different ones, and you're talking about a causal relation between both. And you're only considering one, 2, most maybe like 10 or maybe even 20 parties. I mean, as in subjects. You're considering a small amount of people and things among the universe, and you need to, stick within what I think you need to stick in within one state of affairs, and do things which promotes right and good, in my opinion, with Ross's and Kant's idea of right and good, within that one state of affairs, which sort of, makes that sort of thing radiate from that point. And instead of having a causal relation where you don't know what you're affecting, in that causal relation from state of affairs to state of affairs. The second thing is action. When action is measured, the only thing that matters is the generation of pleasure versus displeasure. So when you're judging actions based upon its consequences, you're measuring them as to their consequential pleasures and displeasures, and you're going to choose certain actions based upon these outcomes. I don't know. I'm just trying to state this so that I can refute it later, for my own refutation. Again, this is concerning one possibly at the most, not very many parties or subjects when you compare, when you're thinking about the rest of the universe. And I guess I'm not trying to be like, consider others. I'm trying to have consideration for other states of affairs and other events. Consideration because you don't know what goes on when you do this sort of consideration of only a certain few parties, and you having a causal connection from one state of affairs to the other, and you are only considering a few subjective parties, and you are making a little consideration where you don't know what and who and where you're affecting. You don't know the entirety of what you're doing. The only thing that you know is that you are promoting things based on pleasure and displeasure, of yourself and a few others. The third thing of Mill's utilitarianism is the impartiality requirement. This impartiality requirement is pretty much just saying that you need to, or all individuals are given equal value. Or you're, considering the interest of others. I feel like the third thing is conflicting with the second thing. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example here. Let's say you somebody asks you to work for them on Wednesday, or no, on Friday. Let's say someone asks you to work for them on Friday because they had a funeral to go to because their aunt died. And then you say, I'm sure that I can work for you, and I will work for you on Friday, so that you can go to your aunt's funeral. You promised this, and Friday comes along. It's Friday afternoon, a couple hours before you have to go to work for this person, so that they can go to their funeral for their aunt, and a girl comes up to you that you haven't seen since high school, had ugly duckling syndrome, and has gotten really hot since high school, and you haven't seen her in a long time, and she says, "Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Would you like to go on a date with me? We can, go have drinks and maybe go to the movie and maybe hang out at my place afterwards, or something like that, So this would, this date with this girl that you haven't seen since high school, that has become incredibly hot since you last saw her, this overlaps in your time that you said that you would work for your friend because they have to go to their funeral for their aunt. So you're weighing your pros and cons here of what if I do action A, work for my friend, keep my promise, or do action B, go out with this hot girl. The utilitarian ethic would say choose option B because there will be more pleasure for yourself and for her, and but there will be a consequence of some displeasure with this one other person. So basically, this is a confliction with the impartiality agreement. It's basically, the impartiality agreement is just saying that all individuals need to be given equal value, and that you need to give equality of interest when you're, so just like Peter Singer is a environmental ethicist who wrote the book Animal Liberation, said that only that sentient beings have moral standing regardless of whatever else. That's the impartiality requirement. And Singer is a utilitarian ethicist. But what you're doing when you make the choice B to go out with that girl and break your promise that you made here is this is against the impartiality requirement, because you are giving partiality to yourself and possibly one or more other parties, where the other parties, other agents in this other thing that you promised, where you made a promise which would really go against you going back on a promise, you would have a lot of displeasure over here. That is partiality. Now, when I think about impartiality, I think about relational ethics or ethics of care, because it's often a feminist ethic and a relational ethic that the mother should care for her child and for her family before taking care of the rest of the world that is dying from hunger and from poverty and all that stuff. There's a partiality requirement where, if you do action A and help your family, change your child's diaper, be partial to them rather than go help the rest of the world. Relational ethics does allow for a partiality. It does allow for partiality, and as does feminist ethics. Some do, some don't. But I'm thinking about not Philippa Foot. Philippa Foot is a virtue ethicist. I'm thinking about Charlotte somebody. Never mind. But now by talking about these relational ethics, I'm trying to get this idea of what partiality and impartiality is. Now, relational ethics allows for some partiality. Mill says that the utilitarianist ethics does not allow for partiality, and that you should give equality of interest to other agents in actions that you do. And I guess I don't know. I guess I have a problem with that, because when you're having partiality, what you're doing is that you're just favoring some group of people over another. That is essentially what you're doing. I'm trying to not to run into any errors here. What you're doing is when you choose to help your children rather than helping the poor people in Chicago, is you are being partial to one over another. And then when you choose to go out with this girl rather than help your friend and work for her, that's also partiality. Peaches. Bad snake. Okay. You're being partial, but I guess I have a problem with that. But that's more to be discussed. But I guess my main thing is that utilitarianism has problems because for all three of these things here, you have problems in all three of these main ideas of Mill's utilitarianism. And I guess impartiality is in itself not a problem. It's actually a good thing to do unless you have some sort of feminist or relational ethic. But the first two are problematic, and they conflict with the third. And I guess I'm sort of trying to characterize this idea of impartiality by referring to feminist and relational ethics, because that's a good way to think about it. And I guess I'm trying to compare the partiality of your children over the poor people of Chicago, or even the partiality of the poor people of Chicago rather than your well-off family. The partiality of one or the other. Feminist ethics actually is not solid on either issue. Feminist ethics just really goes towards ethics of promoting women or in some sort of way. But this to me is the same thing as partiality over choosing to go out with this girl and being partial to yourself. And I guess being partial to yourself is partiality. Virtue ethics would not lead you to this partiality. It would not lead you to It would not really lead you to having partiality, because they would, I guess, I don't know. I guess it's sort of a difficult issue to discuss, but I guess those two theories would do it less. But I guess what I'm thinking here is that there is partiality here. If I'm mistaken, please point this out. I don't think I am mistaken though. But I don't know. Those are just my discussion of these three things that Mill says in his utilitarianism, and I'll say more on why I blatantly disagree.